It's Talking Back with Matt and with Pasta. We got to get you a little cartoon too when you do this with us. But this has been a great show. We've had Jason Burmis on discussing Ukraine, discussing Epstein, discussing all of this, the problems on MAGA, the problems with the two-party duopoly, all of this going on as Trump has been increasing the war machine, increasing our NATO, having Europe foot the bill for more money, more weapons to Ukraine as we continue the Greater Israel Project all around, and more sanctions on Russia. While he's eliminating sanctions, we didn't mention this earlier, eliminating sanctions on the head of Al-Qaeda in Syria. Bizarro town we're living in right now. We also did a Superman review for you guys because we found out that Superman was actually an anti-Zionist film, not a woke film, an anti-Zionist film. So that was a fun discussion. So let's see what you guys had to say about some of the activity on today's show, which we're actually calling today's show Business as Usual, because that's what happens once they get everybody in their place. The oligarchy conducts business as usual. Yeah, Jason was a great guest. Guy, man, you guys, and I let you guys go for a little while there, but that was awesome because you hadn't even caught up in a while. So he had some really good takes. But I'm also glad, Craig, that you pushed back. I won't say even pushed back, but you also said you brought to the table the perspective of what we are from the homeless left, which is very important when we're looking at what's going on in MAGA town right now.
It's interesting because you do have to find little victories within a controlled society, right? And people acting rogue or manipulating a situation to do something for the better of the people, for the greater good, it's very rare, and it's argumentative of when you see it and when it's happening, because a lot of times anybody does anything in a positive manner, whether they're bringing discussions to the table that wouldn't have been brought there and getting people to open their minds, they're still going to be pointed out as a psyop or, a controlled opposition. And Jason, he does talk about the lesser of two evils sometimes when it comes to, Donald Trump versus the Kamala Harris kind of situation. But I think we're at this point where we have to recognize, and he should know better more than anybody. Not that I'm chastising him while he's not here, because he is making some points, right? But, it's just a continuation. It's the same. There is no difference between Trump and AOC. And, it's kind of funny because it's guys like him who really led me to where I'm at. I mean, the guys who were most influential to me when it came to COVID, where I got my head straight, was Jason Burmis, Steve Poikonen, and a gentleman who just reached out to me, and we're going to get him on the show back soon, Ryan Christian, the Last American Vagabond. Those guys had such an impact on me, forget about it, that, they said, how did you get, as a leftist, how did you get COVID right? And a lot of time, and that at that time, it was like, in our little clique, it was us, me, and Kim Iverson. Me, Fee, and Key. It was the Convo Couch and Kim Iverson. And we were the ones doing it right. Kim was able to masterfully get her information out on the Hill and do it right. But those guys, Jason Burmis, like I said, he was the first person to teach me about Bilderberg. He did a show with us, me and Fee, years ago called DARPA for Dummies. I said, explain DARPA for the first grade version so these people can understand who exactly DARPA is. So there it's funny because he does get pushed back within his own group, the Independent Media Alliance, where guys like Ryan and Steve are like, no, there is no lesser of two evils. Charlie Robinson would often say, well, the victory I have is that at least kids are going to get less castrated under Trump than they would Biden. But, and that might be true to a degree, but it wasn't meant to set up that way. It was meant for Trump to still move us into the fourth industrial revolution, which, by the way, when it comes to the Truther movement, they believe that transgenderism is a step before transhumanism. And if Donald Trump is moving us faster to transhumanism, Sam Altman, Larry Ellison, that group, which we talked about, that was day two. That, to me, is more dangerous because it's more nefarious, more sinister, and it sneaks through and it gets through. Because as we know, Democrats push legislation and get it through that Republicans can't do, and Republicans do and push legislation that, the Democrats can't do. It's vice versa. I mean, if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris stood up there with Larry Ellison and Sam Altman on day two, forget about it. the conservatives would have lost their fucking mind.
Yeah.
What Donald Trump does, and it's well, we got to compete with the Chinese AI. Just ridiculous.
Yeah. I brought it back to Epstein because I fully believe that this is unique. And the part I wasn't able to say was the part about because you guys brought up how the JFK files and the 9/11 files, particularly Jason was interested in 9/11 files, were also not being handled, but they weren't treated the way Epstein was. This is 100% gaslighting. At least with JFK, there was this, we'll give you something, and you got the redacted Israel stuff. But Trump coming right out and saying this doesn't exist, and if you think it exists, it's because the Democrats are fooling you like Russiagate. The base knows that's bullshit, and they also know that Tucker's on to something when he talks about we're not allowed to bring up Israel. What? Are we gonna get thrown in jail? Are we gonna get thrown into El Salvador? Like, this is something that right is kind of seeing. They're going, wait a minute, what? We're not the problem asking questions, which is what free speech is all about, and that's why we circled it back to that. So I think there might be a bigger protest happening here. Besides, he didn't end the Ukraine war in time, or maybe Trump Gaza Plaza isn't too bad. Which is, I mean, we've heard all that, but I don't think there is an excuse for maybe child pedophilia and sex trafficking isn't that. I don't think that's a thing. I mean, I know you saw there was one tweet that some asshole did that, but it's not. That's not a thing. That's not okay, right? That part's not okay. And so this was, I was actually going to make this point. And so thanks for a dingo at my baby pointing this out, because Jason brought up and his concern, legitimate concern he had with the AI issue, where you're going to stop countries from advancing technologically, keeping them in the Stone Ages. He was like, that's not okay. That's on a whole nother level of insanity. And it needed to be said, Jason, that is actually how imperialism works. You keep other countries underdeveloped to exploit and for an empire to remain on top. It's no different. It's just maybe easier for him to see that, easier for a lot more people to see, wait, so you can't use nuclear technology for AI? So you're going to be way back here while everybody, yeah, that's how it works. You don't get to do the things that we get to do. It's always been that way. So why any differently with AI? But I'm glad that Jason was concerned about that part, because that is obviously a problem. When we're talking about Iran.
He's always good about that. I mean, and that's, listen, a dingo ate me, baby. He's been with me rocking for quite some time. And that's where we're right on the same page, understanding that why we're in these countries is to keep them destabilized as much as possible. Then we can extract the resources from pennies on the dollars. That's why when all these countries in Latin America try to gain their own national sovereignty, there's always a pushback for the CIA and whatnot. And if you want to talk about the testing grounds for all psychological operations, what they did to these people in Latin America for so many years. And then, like we say, eventually what they test abroad, eventually the chickens will come home to roost and they'll use it on their own citizens. And they've been doing that now with the psychological operations, and it's crazy. But that's their testing ground. And one of the big things is to control the resources, and also put the monetary system on these countries too. Hit them with big IMF, World Bank loans, which they can't pay back, therefore turning it into austerity measures. I mean, it's not bases on people's lands in, just renting space. No, it's an occupation, the United States government, when they do that. They're not renting space. They don't have a base with 1,500 American troops in Honduras, an Air Force base, because they're renting that land so they have a better spot to look over, and they're just going to let them do whatever. No, it's so they're there, and if someone like Manuel Zelaya does something that the United States government doesn't like joining ALBA, they coup him the next day. And on Honduras, in that Air Force base, the military pretty much shares that base. The Honduras military shares that base. So there is that separation of the military and the government when it happened, with Manuel Zelaya's situation. But that's what they do. They did it in Guatemala years ago, in the 40s, I believe. Was it Allende? I forget his name. Jesus, Christmas. I mean, they do this all the time. They did it in Nicaragua. We talked about Iran-Contra. They did it with Mossadegh in Iran. So that's what the United States empire does. That behavior isn't changing. The game is still the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did I have to come here illegally?
Right. Let's
You
see.
only promise your boy kept is fucking terrorizing the immigrant community. What kind of person does that make you? And so many people that I know, Italians and Irish, descendants of immigration. I'm like, dude, they called us wops without papers. They didn't know who we are. They didn't know what part of Italy we came from. They didn't know anything about us, but they let us in and we worked. Now they want to act like these immigrants are different, right? That they're violent. Fuck out of here.
Well, look, I have to admit, I got that part wrong. I thought that we were going to have a replay of the first term where nobody was going to be able to work with him as far as getting this to happen in a functional way. We know that there was a lot of resistance in his first term from ICE, from the people who was trying to get those numbers up, and he couldn't. He did half the amount a day. His daily rate of deportations was half of what Obama's was. Obama was doing 1,200 a day. Trump was doing 600.
Quarter in chief.
Right. And exactly. And so he started his second term. It looked like it was going to be the same thing again, about 600 a day in the first few months. And then all of a sudden it just amplified. And I didn't see that coming and it turns out it's because of Palantir and the sophisticated AI technology they were able to implement. Now they had the contract from a while back, but now I believe that the timing was that you had it functioning now, and the timing was the big beautiful bill just got introduced into the House the first time through the House. It got through the House, and what do you know, Craig? That weekend, the ICE raid started here in LA, and then I was wrong again. I said, "Oh," once I realized about Palantir, I was like, "Oh, this is a ploy," which it was a ploy to get the right wing completely afraid and angry at what was going on in LA, which was to create a state of riot, create a state of insanity, which it did, based on a lot of people that were placed, provocateurs that were placed there to rile it up, provided weapons. We see this stuff, the bricks at every, actual stacks of bricks at every main intersection. We saw that around the country for the No Kings March Day. So at the end of the day, I was still holding on to the hope that it was just temporary to get everybody on the right ready to cheer on Palantir. Let's get everybody on a database, which Laura Loomer and all the rest said, yeah. I was like, okay, well, that'll be it. And then Trump even said, oh, I'm gonna back off on this because we don't want our hospitality workers and our farmers to be affected by this. And I go, oh, see, there it is. And I was like, that. So it was only going to be temporary, just for the shock and awe. Obviously, people affected by that, but then we'd be back to normal, 600 a day, right? No, Palantir is continuing, and LA is living in fear right now continually. It's awful here, Craig, and it's something I admit I got wrong. I didn't know he was going to continue doing this. I suspect he isn't fully in charge of this. I'm not trying to give him a free pass. I'm saying that it seemed that he was interested in protecting his CEOs and shareholders of the hospitality industry and the farming industry. He's not protecting them. They're all suffering. Those industries are failing right now here in California. And it's because of ICE. It's because of the raids. And it's because of people literally hiding in their homes right now because they could strike at any time at anyone, anywhere. They've attacked in the hospitals. They've attacked in the schools. They've attacked out of nowhere. And everybody is up to be pinpointed and targeted. Little children are targeted at the children's hospital. I'm telling you, this is happening right now. So I admit I got that part wrong, but we do see the power of Palantir and the power of this technology, which I don't know if any president right now could overcome.
I got to step out of here. My mom yelling. I'll be right back.
Okay. So the Superman segment. Yes, you guys had a lot to say on that one. Very cool. Yeah, thank you for Atticus 25. Saw Superman for free on my PC a couple days ago. Not bad, really, for today's anyway. And I agree with that. Not bad, really. I mean, there's a lot of crappy ass superhero movies right now. And, it's not, I was hoping for the best. I was skeptical going in, but yeah, it was actually pretty good. And thanks for that, OTR Trucker. Yes, of course, Superdog was in the comics. So don't talk about it if you don't know about it, right? Because you're gonna find it. We're gonna call your ass out if you said, "Who ever heard of a Superdog?" No, we heard of him, definitely. And yes, Chris H, These people don't read the comments. Thanks for that. They just don't. They just don't. Clearly, he knows nothing about Superman. Thank you for that. I pawned you. Appreciate it. Yes, Chris H. Superman is a space immigrant. Of course. Of course. Oh, yeah, this is funny. But truth and justice are the opposite of the American way. And that's why they had to change it to truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. That's why it was changed. And it needs to be. You can't pretend that Superman today would arrive here and he would be championing our foreign policies that we literally have our cell phones in our hand. Now, of course, our foreign policies were horrible in 1978 as well, but it was harder for us to see. Although Superman's always had the supervision, so maybe he should have been able to know better, but we didn't know better. We didn't have our cell phones and watching a genocide unfold on our phones every single day. And of course, yes, I punned you. Yes, Superman is anti-Semitic. Apparently, he is, because he was trying to protect the civilians that were being invaded and murdered. And he was trying to stop them from dying. That's basically his deal. And he didn't have to check in with the U.S. president and the Secretary of Defense to ask permission to help people not be murdered. You don't really have to do that. And that's what Superman would do if that character actually exists right now. You would bet that a character with that moral compass would, in fact, go and stop people from getting murdered right now. That actually would happen. And that's why I like that somebody said something about that in the Hollywood, we call it Hollywood, because you don't get films like this. For some reason, James Gunn was able to get this one through the censors. Even though there might be issues, there might be other issues with the film. It's not perfect, but this part of the film, very important. Very important. Oh, yeah, Leslie, look at that. Pasta is eating super well and being healthy. Wonders, it works wonders. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. Oh, hey, wish it go. Thanks for tuning in. Zionism isn't just the greatest threat to Judaism, it's the greatest threat to humanity. Absolutely. And Ed Rounds chimes in. Superman believes in keeping people safe. I agree, Matt. Anti-Zio. Excellent. Thank you for that, Ed. Okay, this is fair, a fair assessment. Let's see what you have to say on this, Chris H. Creative. Let's please use the term woke correctly. Woke is an awareness of injustice. This Superman seems to be aware of injustice regarding immigrants and the Palestinians. Okay, I will respond to this comment. Chris, thank you for watching. Thanks for writing in. That was the intention of woke when it was created. Unfortunately, it got captured by a party that was more interested in checking boxes for DEI and rainbow flags, which they had to continue adding colors to in order to, again, not about injustice anymore. Now it's about complaining and whining and being exclusive in your club. I think that's the worst part about wokeism, is it's become something where it's an exclusive club where if you have a problem, for example, in Hollywood, if you have a problem with, we won't greenlight your script because it doesn't feature a minority character who's suffering, or we won't let that writer work because that writer isn't actually somebody who's dealt with weight problems and is skinny and fit and wrote a movie that Brendan Fraser starred in and played a 600-pound overweight dude, and that writer didn't actually experience it, so that's not okay. That's where woke is now. There were literally people saying you can't write about someone else's experience. That's actually happening here right now. Not okay. It's what woke's become. So rather than us or people who care about injustice, rather than us trying to take the word back, we let them have it. And we say, go woke yourself out. That's what we do. We can't take the word back. They've already ruined it. Same thing with liberal. Liberal is done. It's not a thing. We used to call ourselves liberal. I did. Not a thing. I don't get to keep the word. You can have your damn word. Take it. And I'm about ready to say that about being progressive. I'm about ready to say that now about progressive. That's not something I want to be affiliated with. If you're going to tarnish that word too, then go ahead and take it. We're just going to go with populist. We're just going to go with non-tribal. We're going to go with being for humanity. And as Chris, you said, being for immigrants, being for Palestinians. Immigrants are created by refugee situations. Why? Because of American imperialism and Israel occupation and genocide, and the way in our business and what we do in the South and South America, and how we treat every country that doesn't align with us, that regime change wars and taking out democratically elected presidents and putting in right-wing dictatorships. We create those problems. So yes, we are for these issues. Superman is for these issues, but you can have your language. You can go take your language and F off, as far as I'm not you, Chris, but you hear what I'm saying. We don't want the word anymore. And that's why we call it Hollywood. Also, we call it Ziowood. That's another. I've heard Ziowood because it's generally Israel first town of entertainment. And somehow, some way, James Gunn got this film out. I don't know how he did it, but I think it's because of not blatantly saying the word Israel or Palestine. That's how he got that's how he did it. That's how. And yes, I know you were having friendly fun. Thanks for clarifying that. I figured it out. It took me a while there, OTR Trucker. And I know you've been following Pasta for a long time. Jason is a great commentator. I was having a little friendly fun with him. And, I'll tell you, it was difficult for me. And I'll admit this to everybody watching. If you saw Craig and Jason doing their banter, allowing them having their space to converse. And we got to do that sometimes. We got to have to take a step back and let the ones, because we all tend to kind of want to go off on our little diatribes and monologues, but you let them go, and you'll see something good can come out of that if you don't always try to control the conversation. Hosting the show, I have to pick and choose when I work hard to control a conversation versus let it go and just let it be, and let it be organic. And I think that might have happened this time. So there you go. And then, when it was time, it was time. And that's how we do things here on The Homeless Left. We're flexible. Let's just say that we're flexible. We can adapt. That's how we do it.